So let's get started. Hello,
Yes. Hi.
it's Benjamin Lease and Judy the Dream Weaver from Connected Warriors. Welcome to episode 5 of The Pharmacy. Comic Cure's The Pharmacy. We say if laughter is the best medicine, then we are the pharmacy. Our mission at Comic Cure is to support local comedians as well as local nonprofit organizations. And on this show, we interview both comedians about causes that are meaningful to them, and we also interview local nonprofit leaders. So I'm pleased to welcome Judy Weaver. So Judy, if you will introduce yourself to our audience today.
Hi, Ben. Thank you for having me on. Like Ben said, my name is Judy Weaver. I am the primary founder for Connected Warriors. We offer services for our military. And what we do is our mission statement is empowering service members, veterans, and their families worldwide through trauma-conscious yoga to support our vision, which is helping the world feel better one breath at a time. And I started this back in 2010, and it was after my inspiration came from Bo McVeigh, an Army Ranger whom I met in 2007. He came back after 5 tours in the Middle East, went to the Miami VA hospital, and was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. His doctor at that time was very forward-thinking and suggested that he go find yoga, breathe, and move. So he came back here to Boca, which was his hometown, and he walked into the studio where I teach at Yoga South, and he told me this story, and I told Bo that I knew what ALS was, but I didn't understand the manifestation with yoga and how I could help him. So I went home and I did the Google thing, and I talked to my husband, who's a veteran, and I just felt compelled to work with him. My husband asked me, he said, "You sure you want to work with this student? You see where the outcome can go."
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It is. And you know, I did this for over 2.5 years. I worked with both he and his family, and what I noticed is it kept them out of depression, something that was so difficult. Bo passed. He was only 33 years old when he passed, so he was really young.
Yeah.
And in that same time frame, in 2009, I saw the movie The Hurt Locker.
Okay.
And that movie was life-changing for me. I left the theater with my husband. I turned to him and I said, "Okay, that is upside down. Our warriors are more present in chaos than they are in peace, and I can fix that." And so for those of you who may not know what the movie is, the whole idea was it's a unit in Iraq. Their job was to defuse IEDs. So imagine something that, and those are bombs, so imagine something that really should scare you. The main character was easy-go-lucky. He was almost happy doing something that was very scary. And yet when he came home in between the deployment, he was in the grocery store. You could see he was overstimulated. He heard a noise in the aisle next to him. He hit the ground, and you knew for all intents and purposes he was back in Iraq.
Right, he was transported. He was,
Absolutely.
or actually, he was transported back home. He had never really left mentally.
And
left
yes, and
the battlefield.
Exactly, and with trauma we call it your body's hijacked. So it's a moment when there's the unresolved trauma throughout you, and it's so unresolved that it leaves that ability to be triggered, and that's what had happened to him. He heard a noise, and his body thought he was back in Iraq. And those two events, those were my watershed moments, and my life changed. Before that, I was just a yoga teacher doing my thing, and
you were a yoga teacher down here?
Yes,
okay.
yes. And now I'm a yoga therapist and a yoga teacher, and I'm really known as a teacher's teacher. I teach teachers to become teachers. And with that, I just said, no, I'm going to do something about it. And I reached out to Ralph Iovino, a Vietnam veteran, a Marine, who I had taught to be a yoga teacher a few years before that.
Okay.
And I said to Ralph, I said, hey, you know, you bring me veterans, I'll teach free classes. And that started in 2010. And back then I thought, I'm a yoga teacher, people know me, they're coming to this free class. Well, no one came. And for a few months, no one came. And I've learned over the time, this population is a closed group.
Sure.
They're a very closed group.
Yeah.
And so I had a saying then, we would get vets on mats, and I've changed that. We now say no, we bring mats to vets.
Okay.
And we changed the way our approach was. Instead of just having classes in local communities, in the yoga studio, we approach the VA hospital and the vet centers in a more concentrated manner, so to speak, and started our classes and growing our classes in the VA and the vet centers. And then our model grew from that as we would build around that into the community.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I want to go back to the origin story.
Yes.
I kind of want to talk about Bo for a little
Sure.
bit. My uncle passed away from ALS as well at the age of probably 50 to 55, and he was a strong, tough guy. Practiced karate, incredibly fit, full of strength, and then like ALS just takes over and whittles you down. So I'm wondering, what were those aside from curing the depression for him and his family? What were there any other? What else did yoga do for Bo maybe?
Well, I think so you understand with that, I think it's one of the worst diseases ever.
Absolutely.
You're literally trapped in your body,
Yep.
and the cognitive function actually stays strong.
Yeah.
And if my perspective, because the other senses diminish a bit, it actually increases, I think. So I think that's probably the worst possible option for an individual is to, and especially what I have seen, is it seems like the more athletic, the stronger the individual is,
Right.
it seems that this disease captures them and then takes hold really quickly. And I don't know, I'm sure in their studies, they're studying this and why. On the other side of it, depression is a huge piece
Right.
of what they would go through, especially an athlete where you're so physical. And for Bo, it was amazing what he would do to maintain his physicality for absolutely as long as possible. And I think this practice helped him do that, keep him focused, keep him out of depression.
Right.
He meditated, and I think that was a big piece
Sure.
of his keeping calm when he could. He had taken, his home is here in Boca,
Right.
in the older part of Boca, so they have a big backyard, amazing big backyard. And so he set up like a zip line effect from one end of his yard to the other, and he had his parachute harnesses.
Okay.
So he would actually walk to keep that physical strength, and we would work on that.
Gotcha.
He would walk from one end to the other of the yard with that support.
Like you would see in kind of in paralysis units,
100%.
right? So that suspended
100%.
walking.
And I think he just, I think between being a warrior, and they're so purpose-driven, they're so mission-driven, and his mission was to stay as physically functional as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And I think with the addition with the yoga, with the breathing practice, we call that pranayama, and with the meditation practice, that kept he and his family on a pretty even keel while going through this.
And is his family still, are you still keep in touch? Are they continue to do
So,
yoga and meditation?
His father he's one of our regulars in
That's
class.
great.
He's been coming pretty much since. And so with that situation, his father is a Vietnam veteran, and he told me at one point, he said, Judy, after Vietnam, I came home, I went to school, I got married, I had a family, life went on, and everything was good. It was only when Bo's passing did his PTS come up. And because that was his triggered event.
Because he lost someone so close to him?
Yeah, and just in the way it happened,
child,
and
too.
Bo's
Yeah.
the youngest son,
Right.
and all of that, and it's just never the course of nature when the child predeceases the parent. So Matt he goes to the park pretty much every day, and he does his practice there, he comes to our classes, and it keeps him going.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the, you do mindfulness training or meditation?
So it's part of,
And we'll try and face the camera.
yeah.
We'll try and
So,
talk to each other
yeah.
through the camera.
So, mindfulness, it's really, is what I've been taught. Mindfulness is the ability to be present in a moment without judgment, expectation, or identification. It's allowing yourself to just be. And so much is made, we're hearing now about meditation and about mindfulness.
All the research that's coming
Absolutely.
out.
And so for our protocol, for the trauma conscious yoga protocol, we have evidence. We've been participants in 2 different university studies. We're working on another one. And so that piece of meditation is part of yoga. And so many times we hear meditation and it's independent of that. But yoga, as we know of here in the West, is really the components of a meditation practice, a pranayama or a breathing practice, as well as an asana or a physical practice. So those three components really make up as what we know here in the West as yoga.
Got it. Which universities are you working with?
So we have worked with Nova Southeastern University, University of California, San Diego, and the newest study we're in the initial phases is the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine.
Okay. Do you know Amishi Jha?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
I'm not sure if she's still with the University of Miami or not, but she does mindfulness research on active combat military.
Oh, down in Miami?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
You should definitely try and connect with
I
her
will.
if you haven't.
So we're doing this through the Bruce Carter VA Hospital down in Miami, through the neurology department.
Okay.
So
sure.
we're working with
them.
the chief neurologist as who runs that portion, as well as he is also involved at UM as a professor. And we have a new doctor that's going to run the entire study. So
Cool.
yeah.
So this started 8 years ago.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's like wildfire now. You have really
Yes.
scaled pretty quickly.
I mean, it's yeah, amazing.
Talk about where you are today.
So we started here just in Boca with one class, and within that time, we are now in 24 states. We're in 9 countries. We have classes in 37 VA hospitals and vet centers. We have classes on 14 active duty military installations. And we have over 100 classes a week happening.
It's incredible.
And our services are completely free of charge for service members, veterans, and their families. And part of trauma is isolating. You know, dealing with trauma and recovering from trauma is very isolating.
Right.
And one of the best tools for healing is being in a community.
Yeah.
And in that community, what we have seen, especially because we focus in the military community, is we talk about the 22 suicides a day. We hear that. And whether that number is right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. The fact that there are suicides, and it seems to be a lot of the younger warriors coming back, and it's the transitioning. And that transitioning is so difficult for them. And I've been trying to figure out why. And there's a lot of components why. It's you know, the way they serve is different, the way they separate is different. But you know, the reality is the demographics of our United States has changed so significantly. When we look back into 1947, after World War II, about 45% of every household had somebody actively serving. In 2017, in the number I just got from the Manhattan VA hospital, less than 1% of every household has somebody serving. So our young men and women who went and put their lives on the line for us here, they come home as strangers in their own country. And that's creating such difficulties transitioning. And one of the side effects of our program, which I never anticipated, I never thought of, is that community piece.
The integration?
It's the integration,
the
but it's more than that. If I can tell you a little short story, which I think illustrates that.
Great.
So when we first started out as all nonprofits, you have no money, and you just do the best you can. And I knew then that we would never be in a place to have big advertising budgets and marketing. But when we had a few dollars, we got some t-shirts made with the Connect a Warrior logo and all of that. So up until that time, all of the guys and gals who would come to class, they would wear their branches service shirt. And so you would have a room full of Army, Navy, Marine, and then the one lone Air Force guy, and occasionally you'd have a Coast Guard attend. And that was pretty much the makeup. And these guys and gals were not talking to each other at all, except the Navy and the Marines, and they would throw blocks at one another. So that was pretty much the entire interaction. It was a lot like high school, right? You have your different cliques. Well, the day I got the t-shirts and the day I passed them out, immediately every single person in that room took their branches service shirt off, they put the Connect a Warrior shirt on, and they started to talk to one another. We have created this community, not we, they have created this community that is so far spread that are active duty serving in the Middle East, are practicing in classes, they're coming home for their next deployment, they have classes here, they then go to another deployment, and the big piece of what we're doing is the board had asked us, how do we know when they're healed? How do we know when they're feeling better? And I told them, related to yoga, they can go to any yoga class, anywhere, anytime, and have the same benefits and not get triggered. That's how we know.
Okay.
So they asked me, well, how do we make that happen? So we created what we call our Elevated Warrior Program. And this program is a pathway for those who are wanting to learn more about this practice and to ultimately become a yoga teacher.
Oh, wow.
So a year and a half ago, I graduated 8 of our Elevated Warriors. 3 were active duty.
Was that the first class?
First class.
Very cool.
Yep. 3 active duty, special ops, and the embedded psychologist in special ops, as well as a whole group of veterans ranging from Vietnam to OIF, OEF, and a family member. And so who better to teach veterans than a veteran?
Veterans, yeah, absolutely. How many practitioners do you currently have? Or how many
attendees?
Attendees.
So we call them visits because in so many of our locations, especially anything related to our active duty, our VA and the vet centers, we really are bounded by the HIPAA guidelines. And so they don't share their names, and so it's very difficult to always determine if it's a repeat or not. So we talk about visits.
Okay.
So we have over 2,200 visits a month.
2,200 visits a month. That's at how many locations?
Roughly 100 classes a week.
100 classes a week.
Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on it real briefly, but so what are your success metrics? How do you report back to the board and say it's working?
Right. So we have had surveys done at the VA hospitals themselves, and they tell us what their results are, which have been extraordinary. Less insomnia nights, less PTS days at home, less anger, less pain medication taking, right?
That's great.
All of those aspects.
Yeah.
Now for us, what we see in the field is we hear this same thing from spouses. I'm having less PTS days at homes with my veteran. They're coming back, they're feeling better, and they're bringing a friend. That to me, I think, is our biggest tell, is that our veterans are bringing other veterans.
Right.
And when you hear a veteran say, I'm sleeping at night, I have not slept for over 30 years, I am no longer taking my pain medication. When I hear my veterans, especially from Vietnam time, when I hear them tell me that they no longer are having to take as much high blood pressure medication, heart medication, because their bodies are healing themselves from this practice.
Most of your visits are active military?
No, we probably are more veteran based than active duty. Just think about if we have we're on 14 active duty, we have however many are practicing there, and that's only part of the 100. So the majority are veterans.
Gotcha.
And their families.
And are you seeing a certain demographic, like a few years out of the military, or is it kind of a spectrum? Are you seeing?
We have a wide spectrum. So here in Boca, right?
So it depends probably
here.
Where you are.
It does. Yeah. It does. And also because our teachers donate their time and the locations donate their space. So especially in a yoga studio, we are in that non-earning time. So it's really the middle of the day. It's not a prime time to practice. And so I teach at 2 o'clock on a Friday. So in Boca, who comes to a class at 2 on Friday, it's retired. Typically they're Vietnam veterans or Korean War or Gulf War veterans that are coming to practice. I used to have a World War II veteran, Lewis, and let me tell you, these guys and gals, they are warriors forever. I don't care how old they are. It does not matter. In their heart and their soul, they are warriors forever. And they are just a very special individual. So it's all over the map as far as the age range. What we have found is to attract and get our younger veterans, the OIF, OEF, to come into classes is the time of the class, the day and the time. We need more evening classes,
Yep.
we need more weekend classes, and because we have been granted 7,000 square feet at BRIC, the Boca Raton Innovation Campus, the old IBM campus,
Right.
They have been amazingly generous to donate this space. In the back of our space is 2,000 square foot room, which we have made our Connect a Warrior Ready Room, because every branch of service has a ready room, and that's what we call this practice, is to get them ready for life. And it's our yoga studio now. And so we are able to actually have classes that suit the needs of our demographic, our students.
Right. That's awesome. Do you have your phone? I don't know if I was able to actually share it or not, so I want to make sure we do that. If you have any questions, feel free to comment in. Let's see if we got it here. Share. Oh yeah, I don't think we did. Okay. There we go. All right. Live once again. We'll take a quick just notification. We're live here with Judy Weaver from Connected Warriors, based here in Boca, but they have, what'd you say, 100?
We have over 100 classes a week.
Over 100 classes a week in 9 countries and
24 states.
24 states, but based right here in Boca, that do incredible work with mostly veterans, but also active military. She's teaching them yoga, meditation, mindfulness, and just we've been talking for the past 20 minutes about how much it's helping them, and so much so that now they want to take a leadership role within the organization. They want to learn how to teach.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
So I think that's the ultimate testament.
Yes, Bingham. He was 22 years fighter pilot, and in the Navy. And when he retired from that, he was figuring out what he would do next. And short of going back into the Navy, he started the JROTC program at Boca High, and it was so successful. But yet he never had gotten national champion, until he added the yoga component. So Miss Gross, who's a teacher at Boca High, and myself, we would come and teach classes with the ROTC kids.
Okay.
And the cadets. I love them. And so I would do this every Friday morning. It's really early, 6:30 or 7. And that year they won nationals. So they won nationals twice before Commander retired from there. And we talked about, okay, what are you doing next? And I told him, I said, well, you're a prime teacher. So he went through the Elevator Warrior program. He became a yoga teacher. He teaches his own class regularly now at the
cool.
Deerfield Yoga Community Center.
Awesome.
I know, Wednesday night, and he gets more students there than I do in my class. So he really rocks it.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty life-changing, I think, for our warriors who take it to that next level and to share. You know, the basic premise of yoga, as far as for us yogis and for teachers, is service, and we call it seva. So it's service, you give back. And there's somebody, whoever those people are in the world, they say that the happiest people in the world are those that believe in something beyond themselves and give service.
Okay.
So.
Well, so what's your personal backstory? Have you always been in teaching yoga?
No.
What were you doing before yoga?
So no, before accounting, I was an accountant. I worked in different companies. I had a regular world job. I'm from California originally.
Okay.
And I found yoga after I was ill for almost a year and a half, bedridden. I had a parasite, and my doctor said, you can't go to the hospital, you will die because you have no immune system now. And as I started to feel better, my girlfriend drugged me to a yoga class. And my background was dance. My parents were professional dancers, and I was in ballet and all that, like at 2 or something. And that was not my path, so I deviated from that. But it spoke to me. And I was addicted from the moment on.
Really?
And ended up moving to California. My husband's in tech, and I was like, how much shopping can you do, right? So I decided I would take a yoga teacher training to learn more for me. I had no intention of ever teaching.
Teaching class.
But I can say that my history from my family was all philanthropic.
Mm-hmm.
It was always you give back more to those who do not have. So I've always had that is my basis of who I am. And even with that, with It's Yoga, that's where I did my training. I said to the owner back then, Larry, he's no longer with us, but I told Larry, I said, so, I feel like I have to give back. So I created It's Yoga Outside, and to take this practice to at-risk youth. And I learned then, that was a long time ago, how hard it is to give something away. Because it's really hard to give something away. Mm-hmm. In our society, the perceived value is based on price.
Right.
And so when you're dealing with a gift, there's no real price. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard for people to have a value attached to it.
Right.
So we did. We brought this program to a charter high school on Treasure Island, and it was very well received. And I found my way back here in Florida and started to teach regular mainstream classes. So, yeah, that's my journey.
Okay, that's your journey.
Yeah.
Got it. And we have Stephanie Gross, who I know from growing up in Philadelphia.
No way.
And going to school at the University of Miami. Yeah, bonkers. You know through the Boki yoga scene, probably,
I taught her to be a yoga teacher.
There you go.
And I helped her with her movement.
So she says,
gross, dude.
Your two favorite people. I don't know if I'm really one of your favorite, but she definitely probably is.
Oh, and she's in Colorado now.
Yeah, I heard you moved out west. You're in Colorado, that's a completely different range, huh? You're in the mountains now. But I totally get why you moved to Colorado. Yeah. Bring some back, Stephanie. Cool. So, any other anecdotes that you want to share about some?
No, other than I'd like to share our big campaign this summer, though. I think it's really exciting.
All right.
So for us, it's about getting awareness, and we have three communities we touch. The military community, the yoga community, and the community at large. And so I've been trying to figure out a way, how do I get national attention to this, right? There's 22 million veterans in this country. There are 3 million active duty and reservists. You add 60 to 80 million of their family members, we're talking over 100 million people. That is more than a third of our entire U.S. population. This is a real issue. This is not just a small issue. This is a big issue. And so my goal is to create national awareness. Okay. So in San Diego on June 9th, on the USS Midway, a decommissioned aircraft carrier, we are going to have a yoga music festival in the morning.
Awesome.
In September 15th, in New York Harbor, on the USS Intrepid Museum, we are going to have a yoga music festival to close the summer. In the center of that, during those months, we are putting a call to action out to all yoga teachers, yoga studios, mindfulness practitioners, mindfulness teachers to offer up donation-based classes for awareness of our warriors are in your local communities, and you can help and you can get involved. And the call to action is that they offer these donation-only classes. They take the proceeds that they make and they donate to their favorite veterans local charity of choice, whatever that is.
Love it.
Because this is about creating awareness for the entire United States.
That's a great idea. So I'm sure Stephanie is going to be participating in that in Colorado. Maria, my friend Maria, better get on that. I think I've got a few other yogis in my Facebook group, but that is a great idea.
Thank you.
Did you come up with that, or your board did, or?
I did.
Yeah.
I tend to think really big, and so, if by chance, I'll just put this out there since we're Facebook Live, for spokespeople, I am looking for The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Dwayne The Rock.
Yeah, and Prince Harry.
And Prince Harry.
And I'll give you, so The Rock is, we want somebody who can stand up, who is appeal to everybody across the board, and who better than The Rock, right?
Sure.
Everybody loves him.
South Florida's own.
He's South Florida's own. He is strong, but yet he's he's gentle, and
great sense of humor.
Absolutely. And with Prince Harry, his birthday's the same as mine.
Okay.
He's a veteran.
Yeah, kinship.
Yeah, he's not the same. I'm much older, but he's a veteran.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
He is very public about his mental health issues when his mother was killed. And honestly, we are about veterans. He's about veterans. He created the Invictus Games. We would love to be part of the Invictus Games.
Okay.
I think that because we're in multiple countries, my goal is to bring this to other countries' military.
I love that.
So
how do they get involved? How do they contact you?
they reach us on www.connectedwarriors.org. You can call our offices, 954-278-3764. You can reach me, Judy, on Facebook. Well, yeah, Judy Weaver on Facebook. And I know we have a Twitter and an Instagram and all of that, but I don't really know what those are. But if you go to our website, that's all there. So
what are some other ways that people can get involved with your organization?
We always need volunteers
Okay.
because we run with volunteers. We need volunteers. If you want to bring our program to your local community and we are not there, you can certainly reach out to us. You can maybe start as an ambassador in the community.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
See how we can start. That's all we call it, boots on the ground. How do you start locally? We're a lot like Lululemon there. You know, my big
with their
vision is to
ambassador
change the world. Yeah, so to change the world one community at a time. Well, we're the same way. That's our big overarching. And I love Lulu. I'm a legacy ambassador.
Okay.
And Annie Okerlund from Exalted Warrior, she's over in Tampa. She and I shared the first ever Lululemon ambassador grant several years ago.
Okay.
So for Lulu, I just see what you helped. Look at where we are now, and they help.
Yeah, is Lulu still a partnership with?
Not right now because
Okay.
I'm not active, but in our campaign this summer, I sure hope they will be.
Very cool. Absolutely. So Lululemon,
Thank you,
we're
Ben.
calling you out.
Yes.
To get involved. And so we also have an event coming up
Yes.
here at the Miser Park Comedy Club, our United We Stand Up show, which we actually premiered last year in Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, I think we had like 20 reservists and veterans performing to benefit, I think it wasn't Wounded Warriors, it was another organization based out, veterans organization based out in the Glendale area. And the winner of that was a contest. So the winner of that show, Jose Sardui, is going to be headlining this show here at the end of March 31st.
Yes.
So Jose will be out here, and he is a pilot in the Air Force, and originally from Miami, originally from South Florida.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
we've got him, Shay Clemens, and right now Brendan J, who's based down at Southcom in Miami. He's in the Air Force as well. Shay is, Brendan's Navy. Shay is Air Force. So the three of them are going to be on that show, and it's going to be a great show. And we've got Connected Warriors is going to get involved in that. We've got the FAU Veterans Alumni who are going to get involved, and we're looking for more organizations that want to get involved and have a great night of laughter. But that'll be March 31st, and you can go online and buy tickets, and make sure you use the code CW, and you'll get a discount when you purchase tickets, and
Yes.
$5 from every ticket that is sold using the promo code CW. We'll donate $5 back to Connected Warriors, and it'll just be a great night of laughter.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'll just share our other event is Friday.
Okay,
It's in
this
2
Friday.
days. Yeah, Florida Panthers.
Oh, that's Florida Panthers night.
Yes, they're
Okay.
doing the same thing. If you go on our site or go to Facebook, there's an event, and they also are supporting our organization, and for every ticket purchased through that link, they're donating some proceeds, and they'll do a shout out to us, for us, and they're a brand new partner, so we're really excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you want to get a night out on the ice Friday night, you can buy tickets with Connected Warriors. I love this this pose. How did you get that done? Where was that?
So that is at Fort Campbell,
Uh-huh.
and that's in Kentucky. And Robert Sturman, a photographer out of Los Angeles, he has been so gracious to provide 2 different photo shoots for us. We did one in Pendleton and we did one in Fort Campbell.
Okay.
And
There's
yeah,
that one. Namaste.
namaste.
Very cool. What form or what's the typical yoga that you're practicing?
We teach trauma conscious yoga.
Okay.
Very specifically, and that's an interesting question. I had a veteran who's a yoga teacher come to the class. She had never been to Connected Warriors class, so she came to a class, and at the end of it she said, wow, that was like a regular yoga class. And I looked at her and I said, yes, you were expecting something else. She said, well, I wasn't sure.
Right.
And I told her, I said, it's just in the way we deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
It's trauma conscious yoga is creating a safe, secure, predictable environment. Because until that happens, our warriors are not able to let go because they live vigilant. Mm-hmm. And after they stay vigilant for so long, it becomes hypervigilant.
Right.
And that leaves them in that side of their nervous system, which we all know is fight, flight, freeze, as opposed to the side that you want to live in, which is your rest and digest. And so after living in that fight, flight, freeze for so long, it's really hard to leave there and move over to the other side. And what our practice does, and in the way we teach and the way we deliver it, is to create that safe space that they feel that they can let go. And maybe start to shift back over into that rest and digest side. Mm-hmm. And once they can move back to the rest and digest side, then they can start really feeling the benefits of this practice.
Got it. Wonderful.
So.
Thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome,
us. Is there
Ben.
anything that you want to add that I may not have asked you about?
No, but I'm sure after I leave here I'll have
There's
20
gonna be
things.
a lot of stuff,
So
yeah.
thank you, Ben.
Thank you again, and thank you for tuning in. Please share this episode with as many people as you can. We want to get the word out about Connected Warriors and help as many veterans out there in active military that we can through yoga, through meditation and mindfulness training. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.